from 2013 to 2018, right? I think about 200 or 150 countries are there, right? I'll try to share this one also. Right, we have 57 participants here. It's almost 8 past 7 minutes, right? Then we'll start today's session.
Recording in progress.
Right. So, as I mentioned earlier, we have completed the microeconomics part, and we are on the place to discuss about the macroeconomic. Right. Your course unit only covers 5 topics from the macroeconomics, right? Introduction to macroeconomics with some macroeconomic variables, giving knowledge on some macroeconomic variables which are essential to you, and then the national accounting, right? National accounting, and then sectors of economy, right? We call that income expenditure analysis. How you can identify different sectors by basing on income and expenditure, right? Those are the 5 topics that we are going to cover. Today we are going to learn something on macroeconomics, right? Here we are going to form a basement for the macroeconomic part, right? If we move to the course description, the main aim of this course is to give you an understanding on aggregate economic systems. Up to now, we have discussed about the economy by basing on single household, or else by basing on a group, not in an whole economy, right? Not in an whole economy. If we went through the consumption, we identify the consumption of the of one unit, or else the consumption of uh, what you called groups, right? Groups, or a certain community, right? But in macroeconomic, the thing that we are going to do is we are going to identify different types of economic systems and economic variables by basing on what? By basing on the entire economy, right? The entire economy. So this will enhance the student skill to make an economic change through addressing the macroeconomic issues by undertaking systematic macroeconomic analysis. So you are required to obtain and grant knowledge on macroeconomic the parts that we are talking, or else the concepts that we are talking, and also you need to address the macroeconomic issues, right, by uplifting your skills. So as I mentioned in the very beginning of the lecture series, told you that the most important thing is to applying the required knowledge, or the obtained knowledge that you are gained in this from this course unit for the uh, practical context, right? Practical context. So in here also, we are going to identify different types of macroeconomic issues and macroeconomic concepts, and ultimately we are using them for the for addressing different types of questions that are arising in the economical context. So that is our aim, right? So there are some intended learning outcomes. You can refer those things, right? Then we are straightforwardly we are going to identify the evolution, right? So once on you, as per your understanding, right? When you heard the word evolution, right? Evolution, the concept that you are coming into mind is a complex concept, right? It is true the evolution of a certain concept is what you called is somewhat complex. I accept it, but most importantly, right? Most importantly, you may can identify this in a simple manner by referring the correct information, right? Referring the correct information. So for the microeconomics, we found out some basements, right? Some basements how the microeconomic concept is evolved, right? And also the economic concept. So for the macroeconomics students, right? Early before 1930s, right? The microeconomic concepts were there in the world, and normally, right? Normally, classical economists have identified, right, the problems in the economical context, right? Problems in the economical context can be addressed through these microeconomic mechanisms and also through the price economics, right? Through the price mechanisms and also microeconomic mechanisms. They can be I addressed, right? That was the classical economist view, right? All the things can be addressed through the pricing mechanisms and also microeconomic mechanisms, right? So no any macroeconomic concept was there in early 1930s, but due to main two reasons, right? Due to main two reasons, the microeconomic concept evolved to the world, right? The main two reasons were, right, in the in 1930s, Lamai, right, 1913s, uh, the main economy in the world was the capitalist economy, right? So we can identify three types of economies, right? Command economy or command economy, capitalist economy, and the mixed economy, right? Mixed economy means the economy has the characteristics of command economy and capitalist economy. Simply, capitalist economy, right? Capitalist economy means the economy that is governed by supply and demand forces. No any government intervention was there, right? The entire economy was governed by supply and demand forces, right? In 1930s, that economy was there, right? But after the completion of the First World War, from 1914 to 1918, right? Most of the European countries, right, face severe financial problems due to this different circumstance of the World War, right? Many countries were uh, in Europe was there to meet, right, different types of financial problems, severe financial problems. One is the inflation, right? One is the inflation, and also many financial problems were there to be made by due to the circumstances that are occurred in the World War. All right. So in the very beginning, European economies with a floating exchange rate regime and free movement of capital. That means the economy was governed by free movements of demand and supply forces, right? But due to the World War or due to the uh, post circumstances of the World War, inflation, widespread of inflation, right? Widespread of inflation and severe financial problems were there, right? And a great depression in the economy, right? We are identifying this word in the what you called latter part of the session, right? So Great Depression means the continuous flowing, right? Continuous decreasing of the economy, right? Continuous decreasing or the falling of an economy. So due to the World War, right, in 1914 to 1918, many financial problems and inflation, widespread inflation was there, and also the Great Depression, right, that broke out in 1929, right. A new concept that was not in the community was needed to address these kind of problems, right. So until this point, the free flowment of the capitalist economy was there, but people identified, right, active government policies, right, active government policies or the involvement of government was needed for the economy, right. Many more topics on economy, right. Many more new topics on economy, such as inflation, exchange rate, right. Economic growth was needed to be discussed in an economy, right. That is the only way to face this problem, and also that is the only way to minimize the occurring of these problems, right. So the evolution of the macroeconomics was there due to this kind of facts, right. So due to this Great Depression, active policy or active government intervention was needed, right. And due to the Great Depression, right, a continuous falling in the level of output was there, right. That means gross domestic product of the of an economy was continuously decreasing, and income, right, and also employment. We can see a continuous flow of falling of the level of output, income, and employment in this Great Depression, right. Even though the United States and other Western countries were highly industrialized with well-developed basic industries, electric power, means of transport and communication, banks, and other financial institutions, the classical failed to explain this situation during the Great Depression, right. With the concepts that they have, they were not able to discuss, right, not able to discuss the falling or the circumstances that are occurring in the Great Depression, right. So that John Maynard Keynes, right, have discussed a new theory to the world in 1936 by the book of General Theory of Employment, Interest, and Money, right. So he is the person who forward the macroeconomic concepts at the very beginning, right. To meet these challenges that were occurred throughout the what you called throughout the World War and also the Great Depression, right. John Maynard Keynes were able to forward this what you called concept, right. So in the very beginning, the concept, the what you called the idea of the economy, right. Classical economics was there, right. The idea of the economy was there is a full employment, always there is full employment, right. full employment in the economy, no any resource or no any type of resource was unemployed. Right? That was the classical assumption. He criticized those classical assumptions and developed modern economics. Right? He was the person who pioneered a new approach to the economics. Right? So I think the foundation for the lecture or the foundation for the discussion of macroeconomic concept is clear. Right? So Keynesian economists identified with the data of 1936 of General Theory of Employment, Inclusive Money by John Maynard Keynes. Right? He believed the government could intervene the economy and affect the level of output and unemployment. So government intervention on an economy was needed, right? Was needed, and it was forwarded by John Maynard Keynes. Right. So have you got the point that I talked on the evaluation of macroeconomics, how it evolved due to the World War and also the Great Depression that broke the capitalist economic system that was in there in before 1930s. John Maynard Keynes were able to brought out a new concept to the economy called macroeconomics. Right? Macroeconomics. So what is macroeconomics? Microeconomics is there, right? Economics we can identify as two different parts, microeconomics and macroeconomics. In microeconomics, we identify individual units for the discussion of economical concepts, but in macroeconomics, the thing that we do is we are identifying the economical context as an whole, right? We identified the entire economy in a holistic view, right? In an holistic view, we are trying to identify the effect of different concepts in the economy in a holistic view. So two Greek words are the foundation for this micro and macro words, right? It also gives that the meaning of small and large, right? So in microeconomics, so after identifying the basement, we are going to identify how these two concepts are changing one to another, right? One to another. How microeconomics is changing from the macroeconomic concept, right? So in microeconomics, as I mentioned, right, we are going to study this the single units or a small portion of units which is in the economy, right? We are identifying different types of economical context by basing on those small units. That is the thing that is done in the microeconomics. We identified individual consumers or a group of consumers, right? Their behavior. In the production side, right? In the production side, we identified the individual producer's behavior or a market producer behavior, likewise, right? So in segmentation the economies into different parts, right? Different parts. The thing that we identified is that we identified single firms and a group of firms together, right? So it automatically gives a certain figure on one person or a one unit in microeconomics, right? But in macroeconomics, right? In macroeconomics, we identify the entire economy as a whole or some branches of economies, right? Not a single one or a unit, right? And also we are identifying the big concepts, or else the holistic concepts in the economy. Holistic concepts in the economy, right? So some examples are there, like unemployment, growth rate, GDP, gross domestic product, business cycles, balance of payments, money supply, government budget, inflation, likewise. Right? So by referring these points, right, you can clearly get an idea, right? Do we talk unemployment in the microeconomics? No. Do we talk growth rate of an economy in the microeconomics? No. Right? Likewise, we can clearly differentiate these two terms, micro and macroeconomics. Right? Students, I think I am audible enough, right? Is it?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Then there are some definitions that are forward by I have just included two, right? Two. In 1993, Salvatore has forwarded that microeconomics is the study of economic behavior of individual decision-making units, right? Such as individual consumers, resource owners, and business firms in a free enterprise system, right? So I think you may better to go through this, right? Go through this. As I mentioned in the very beginning, that is formally documented, right? Formally collected as an definition and forwarded by a person, right? That is the thing that has done in here, right? Some definitions are there. You may better go through this, right? This is the microeconomics definition that is forwarded by Salvatore, and this is the macroeconomics by himself, right? And Lipsy's microeconomic explanation and the macroeconomic explanation. Right? And also P.E. Balding, right? Also forward another explanation. So if someone asks, right? If someone asks to write something on micro and macroeconomics, how you can differentiate the two terms micro and macroeconomics by basing on experts definitions, right? So in there you need to refer these points, right? So go through them. So according to the entire definitions, it is clear that microeconomics focus on the economic behavior of individual economic agents, right? And also study of individual economic units of an economy, right? See, according to the definition, it is clear, right? Microeconomics is focusing on individual economic, right? And also it studies the individual economic units, right? But macroeconomics, on the other hand, focuses on the study of economy as a whole and its total, right? By referring the words by yourself, it is really clear that to understand. In other words, microeconomics is the study of what? Individual trees, right? Individual trees, where as macroeconomics is the study of forest as a whole, right? So I think the concept so is very much clearer, right? By referring these words, right? I think it is very clear now, right? So why was this is important? Why was this is important? So if you can remember, right? If you can memorize what concepts or what variables are considered on the macroeconomic part. What variables are considered in the macroeconomic part, right? Gross domestic product, exchange rate, growth rate, uh, inflation, employment, price levels. Likewise, you can make number of macroeconomic variables. So to identify the different behaviors of these variables, right? We need to understand or we need to identify macroeconomics, right? That is the main important point, right? By basing on that main important point, you can come up with segmented points which have shown, right, which have shown different microeconomic variables. Those are the things that I have highlighted, right? See, you can understand national income and employment through macroeconomics, right? And also you can understand and you can focus on the economic growth by identifying macroeconomics, right? The main goal is to, right? Main goal is to uh, wait, okay. Main goal is, right? Main goal of the macroeconomic is to identify the different types of macroeconomic variables, right? Variables. So when someone asks, or when we need to understand, or when we need to remember the importance of macroeconomics, right? We need to keep in mind on the macroeconomic variables, right? Macroeconomic variables. And if the macroeconomic, if one macroeconomic economic variable need to be increased or want to decrease, right, you can write down, or you can remember, you can learn, or you can study if the national income, for example, if the national income, if we need to focus on increase in the national income, we need to identify the macroeconomic concepts. If we need to increase the level of employment, right, it referring macroeconomics will be more beneficial. Likewise, right? So the importance is based on the what? Based on the macroeconomic variables, right, Lamai? So the first point, it helps us understand the function of a complicated modern economic system, right? So in microeconomic variables, we would able to understand the individual behaviors, right? It is more easy to study the individual behaviors rather than go understand the complicated economic system, right? But if we refer the macroeconomic concept in a frequent way, in a sound way, it will help to identify the complicated modern economics, right? And also it describes how the economy as a whole function, and how the level of national income and employment is determined on the basis of aggregate demand and the aggregate supply. Simply, it shows the level of national income and employment that you have, and to uplift those national income and employment, you need to identify macroeconomic concept, right? And also it helps to achieve the goal of economic growth, right? ආර්ථික වර්ධනය ළඟා කරගන්නත් මේක අවශ්‍යයි. ඒ වගේම ජාතික ආදායම සහ සේවා නියුක්තිය වැඩි දියුණු කරගන්න. එතකොට මේ වැඩි දියුණු කරගන්න එක ඇතුලේ right මොන වගේ හැසිරෙන්න ඕනිද? අපි කොහොමද ඇග්‍රිගේට් ඩිමාන්ඩ් එක ඇග්‍රිගේට් සප්ලයි එක මත පදනම් වෙලා මේ වගේ ජාතික ආදායම් වැඩි කරගන්නේ? සමහර ඉල්ලුම සහ සමහර සැපයීම්. In simply aggregate demand mean the demand of the entire economy. අපි single unit වශයෙන් කතා කරේ aggregate මේ කියන්නේ single unit වශයෙන් කතා කරේ. දැන් අපි කතා කරන්නේ සම්පූර්ණ මේ මුළු ආර්ථිකය ගැනම. එතකොට aggregate demand කියන්නේ සමහර ඉල්ලුම කියලා කියන්නේ the demand of the entire economy. right? එතකොට මේ සාර්ව ආර්ථික විද්‍යාවේ macroeconomics වල අපි වැදගත්කම කතා කරද්දී අපි macroeconomic variables ටික තමයි කතා කරන්නේ. එතකොට macroeconomic variable මොනවද? ජාතික ආදායම්, ආර්ථික වර්ධනය, උද්දමනය, විදේශ විනිමය අනුපාත, ඊට පස්සේ අපි කතා කරොත් balance of payments, ගෙවුම් ශේෂය, right? ඔය වගේ විවිධ macroeconomic variables තියෙනවා ළමයි. right? මේ හැම variable එකක්ම අපි single unit වලට අදාළව මේ කතා කරන්නේ. මේ කතා කරන්නේ සමස්ත ආර්ථිකය ගැන. හොඳද? එතකොට සමස්ත ආර්ථිකය ගැන කතා කරද්දී සාර්ව ආර්ථික විද්‍යාවේ වැදගත්කම අඳුනගද්දී අපි වැඩියෙන්ම ફોකස් කරන්න ඕනේ මොකද්ද? කියන්නේ එක variable macroeconomic variable කොහොමද uplift කරන්නේ? right? සමහරක් විට වැඩි කරන්න වෙන අවස්ථා තියෙනවා, ඉහළ දාන්න වෙන අවස්ථා තියෙනවා, ඒ වගේම අඩු කරගන්න වෙන අවස්ථා තියෙනවා. දැන් උද්දමනය ගත්තොත් එහෙම අපි මැක්‍රෝ ඉකොනොමික් වලින් මොකද්ද කරන්නේ? උද්දමනය කියන concept එක අඳුනගෙන ඒක කොහොමද සමතුලිත මට්ටමක නැත්නම් ස්ථාවර මට්ටමක නැත්නම් ප්‍රශ්නයක් ආර්ථිකයට ප්‍රශ්නයක් වෙන්නේ නැති මට්ටමක පවත්වාගෙන යන්නේ කියන එක හඳුනා ගන්න අපිට මැක්‍රෝ ඉකොනොමික්ස් වැදගත්. අන් ඒ වගේ. එතකොට economic growth එක වැඩි කරගන්න නැත්නම් ආර්ථික වර්ධනය ඉහළ දාගන්න අපිට මේ macroeconomic concept එක ඉවහල් වෙනවා. right? ඒ වගේම it brings stable in price level. right? And also analyze fluctuations in that business activity. So if we think on the business activity, right? As a developing country, right? As a developing country, almost all the developing countries has a significant fluctuations in the economical activity or the business activities, right? But it is totally different in the developed economies, right? Developed economies. That is because they have a stable platform to be operated in an economy, right? එතකොට සංවර්ධනය වුණු රටක, right? fluctuations නැත්නම් ආර්ථික කටයුතු වල ලොකු වෙනස්කම් වෙන්නේ නැහැ. ඉහළ මට්ටම් වල උද්දමනය, ගෙවුම් ශේෂය, right? නැත්නම් විදේශ විනිමය අනුපාතය, ඒ වගේ ආර්ථික කටයුතු වල ජාතික නිෂ්පාදිතය, employment සේවා නියුක්තිය, මේ වගේ හැම එකකම වගේ ලොකු වෙනස්කම් වෙන්නේ නැහැ ළමයි. right? Small fluctuations are there that is seasonal, right? That is seasonal due to different types of climates, different types of environmental changes, right? ඒ වගේ දේවල් හින්දා පොඩි fluctuations වෙනවා. හැබැයි significant fluctuations වෙන්නේ. right? හැබැයි දියුණුව වෙමින් පවතින සංවර්ධනය වෙමින් පවතින රටවල් වල මේ fluctuations වැඩි වශයෙන් වෙනවා. උද්දමනය fluctuate වෙනවා, exchange rate දැන් for an example take our country, right? So it is nearly the exchange rate of a dollar is about 210 rupees now, right? I wasn't able to refer the previous 3-4 days, right? I just show in the TV that is mentioned as 220 also, right? I don't think it is unfeasible amount, right? But by basing on that, right, think that many fluctuations are there, right? So if we identify the macroeconomics concept in a more significant or a more what you called more fluent way, we will able to identify these fluctuations, and we will able to implement some stability concepts for the fluctuations, right? That is also another important, right? And also it explains the factors which determine balance of payments, right? Balance of payment given different types of factors, right? Main two factors is the export and import, right? Rather than the export and import, right, we have different types of exports and imports in an economy, right? In an economy. එතකොට ගෙවුන් ශේෂය කියන එක තමයි අපනයන් සහ ආදායන මත විශේෂයෙන්ම බලපානවා, right? ඒත් එක්ක අපිට තියෙනවා මේකේ categories, right? Balance of payments එකට effect වෙන ගෙවුන් ශේෂයට effect වෙන්නේ නැත. දැන් ගෙවුන් ශේෂය කියලා කියනවායි සලකා බලන කාල සීමාවක අපනයන සහ ආනයන අතර සිද්ධ වෙන වෙනස්කම්. right? මේක හැබැයි capital assets වල නැත්නම් ඊට පස්සේ current asset වල පස්සේ financial assets වල මෙහෙම වෙනස්කම් තියෙනවා, right? You are not required to go so far, right? I just explaining, right? I just explaining in the capital one, we are exchanging, right? We are importing or we are exporting the capital units, right? Which is more durable, right? Durable. So in current assets, right, we are doing the day-to-day transactions. In financial ones, right, we are going for the investments, right? In financial, so these three accounts, capital, current and financial account, will determine the amount or the balance of payment, right? Simply remember this or understanding of or identifying or studying the macroeconomic concepts will explain you how to determine the balance of payment. And also macroeconomic will address what? Economic problems, right? Economic problems. What are the types of economic problems? Unemployment, inflation, deflation, poverty. So by identifying the macroeconomics, you would be able to solve these economic problems, or under identifying these economic problems, then you can address them, right? Address them in more fluent way. With the detailed knowledge on functioning of economy at macro level, it has been possible to formulate correct economic policies. To meet or to solve these economic problems, you can have correct policies and also coordinate international economic policies. So after identifying the concepts of macroeconomics, after identifying the importance of the macroeconomical concepts, you may able to formulate correct economic policies to solve these economic problems or to uplift the economy into the next level, right? So identifying macroeconomical concept and making out the importance of macroeconomical economics is very much important in an economy. And there are some other things also, right? See, there are some other things also. Macroeconomic analysis all aggregating deviate සමහර ලක්ෂණ තමයි අපි ඇනලයිස් කරන්නේ. සමහර අවස්ථා තමා අපි ඇනලයිස් කරන්නේ නැත්නම් individual level with that influence the economy. Government and corporations use macroeconomic models to help the formulating economic policies. අර කලින් කතා කරපු point එක වගේම. Right? So macroeconomic analysis is very much important in an economy. And there are some other things also, right? See, there are some other things also. and also strategies to solve what? To solve economic problems. Right? Macroeconomic focus on the economical behavior and policies that affect consumption and investment, exchange rate and trade balance, determinants of changes in wage and prices. So we are focusing on the behavior of these things, right? Behavior of these factors in the macroeconomy. Macroeconomic theory has saved us from the dangers of the application of microeconomic theory to the problems that require us to, right? The most important thing that you need to identify is that, right, each and every problem that arises in an economy, right, cannot be addressed by basing on microeconomic theory. So macroeconomics is the concept that we need to understand, or else, right, each and every problem that arise in the economy, right, we cannot address them by looking at a single unit. We need to focus on the entire picture, right? Entire picture of an economy. So to meet this picture, what you need to have understand on the macroeconomics. Hope it is clear, right? Hope the importance is clear. Right? So what are the macroeconomic variables that we are identifying, right? As I mentioned earlier, right? National income, employment and unemployment, price levels of an economy, domestic production, foreign exchange, balance of payment, national savings, investment, export and import, money supply. Right? Likewise, there are a number of macroeconomic variables. So who are the macroeconomic agents? Right? So an economy has formed, right? Has formed by these four units, right? In the next sessions, we are identifying the involvement of these single units, right, to an economy. We are going to identify, right, in income expenditure analysis. Two sector, these two together is two sector, these three together is three sector, these four together is four sector economies, right? Likewise, we are going to identify, right? So in an economy, the entire economy is formed by these four units, right? So in the what you called in the microeconomic part, we identified these single units, right? These single units, you can remember, right? In an isolated manner, right? In an isolated manner. But in macroeconomic, we are identify these four types of agents in a more collective manner, right? So those are the macroeconomic agents. So each and every of this macroeconomic or individual agent has certain tasks, right? Or else they perform certain tasks in economy. මේවා තමයි ළමයි macroeconomics වල අපි අඳුන ගන්න units, right? එතකොට මේවා එකට collect වෙලා තමයි සමාහාර ආර්ථිකයක් හැදෙන්නේ. මුළු සමස්ත ආර්ථිකය හැදෙන්නේ households ලා, firms ලා, government sectors, foreign sectors මේ හැමෝගෙම එකතු. right? එතකොට මේ එක එක unit අපි ගැන අධ්‍යයනය කරන එක තමයි අපි සූක්ෂම ආර්ථික විද්‍යාව කරේ. මම හිතන්නේ මතකයි. right? එතකොට සාර්වාර්ථික විද්‍යාව කරන්නේ මේ සියලු units ටික එකට හඳුනා ගන්න. right? හඳුනා ගන්න. එතකොට මේ හැම යුනිට් එකකටම තියෙනවා certain tasks. නැත්තම් එයාලා එදිනෙදා ජීවිතේ කරන වැඩ කටයුතු ටිකක් මේ හැම ඒජන්ට් කෙනෙක් ගාවම තියෙනවා. ඒතර households ලා මොනවද සාමාන්‍යයෙන් කරන්නේ? Earning income by giving production factors to the production sector. Right? Before that, excuse me, Lamai, I just need to change my internet connection. See the presentation, right? Is it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we were talking on the microeconomics agents, right? So each and every of these agent has a certain function. So what are the functions of households? They are earning income by giving production factors to the production sector. If you can remember, right? In an economy, there is a side of putting inputs, and the next side in the end, it turns into output. In between this process, right? So inputs, we are getting inputs from where? From who? From different types of household units, right? We are asking laborers to come. We are getting money from firms, right? So households are the persons who give the labor factor, right? And at the end, household is the person who consumes the good also, right? That is why we are calling economic issues a systematic concept, right? Going as a system. They give the production factors, and also they last consume the good, right? So they give the production factors to the production sectors, and also they are buying goods and services from firms to consume. Paying taxes to the government, it is a task of household. Saving the part of income, that is the behavior of the or a function of household. Getting transfer earnings from the governments. Doing in self-employed agricultural activities which are not in the markets, right? Likewise, you can identify functions of households. Really easy points, right? Then functions of production sectors. What are the functions? Right? The other part of this, these are the persons who give the production factors. These are the persons who buy the production factors, right? And also they are selling the goods and service to the households. Earlier, households were the person who buy. This is the sector where they sell. They pay taxes to the government, firms, production sectors, or firms, right? Production sectors mean firms, right? Production sectors mean, and investment of the extra or else investment of the certain portion that they have saved, they will able to invest, right? So that activity also we can see. These are very much important when we are talking the next sessions, right? Income expenditure analysis. identify different types of activities that are done by different levels of what you called people, right? Then exporting and importing with foreign market is also a thing that is done by production sectors or firms, right? And functions of government sector. What are the functions? Providing goods and service to households and firms for free of charge. What you called infrastructural facilities, right? Medicine, free health facilities, free education. Likewise, different types of goods and services are produced by or else providing by the government sector for the households and firms. Providing incentives and subsidies to firms and households, right? They provide different types of subsidies, right? Sahanadar. For the electricity bill, for the water bill, you will get different types of subsidies, right? And also in today's context with the pandemic, they are also providing some other functions of government sector. Impose taxes. They collect taxes from households and firms, buying production factors from the factor market, buying goods and service from the goods and service market, and taking debts for settle budgetary deficits, right? They are also producing some goods and services, right? For that they are taking production factors from the factor market, and also for the consumption they are also buying different services for their consumption, for the government sector consumption, right? Some loans, some goods, some services, some advisory services, right? Likewise, from different kinds of units in the economy. Taking debts to settle budgetary deficits. Okay. This is the main important part in Sri Lankan economy, right? In Sri Lankan economy, that is the main. They are always focusing on taking debts to settle budgetary deficits. Right? That is a minor. If an economy is stable, if an economy is in a growing rate, right? It is a minor thing to focus on the debts, right? So how you are going to take debts, Lamai? Why we are taking debts? We are taking debts. That's the last point, right? අපි කරගන්නම දෙයක් නැති වුණොත්නේ ණයක් ගන්න. ණයක් ගන්න. හැබැයි in Sri Lankan government it is totally different, right? අපි ඉස්සෙල්ලාම බලන්නේ ණයක් ගන්න පුළුවන්ද කියන එක තමයි ඉස්සෙල්ලා බලන්නේ. Right? So it is a task which settle budgetary deficits, but it is a minor task, right? Functions of foreign sector. Foreign sectors වල මොනවද තියෙන කටයුතු? Exporting and importing of goods and services, right? It is clear. Foreign debts, investment and aids come from foreign countries to other country, right? එතන manage කරන එක foreign sector එක කරන්නේ exchange, export and import, අපනයන සහ ආනයන. විවිධ සේවා, විවිධ භාණ්ඩ අපනයනය කරන ආනයන foreign sector එකේ. ඒ වගේම විදේශ ණය, විදේශ ආයෝජන සහ විදේශයෙන් ලැබෙන ආධාර උපකාර, right? මේකත් foreign sector එකේ function එක, right? These transaction based on the foreign exchange rate. එතකොට එක මුදල් ඒකකයකින් තමයි වෙන්නේ. Normally US dollars. Right? So after taking, right? After taking the importance to your mind of the macroeconomics, you can form some macroeconomic objectives. Then ළමයි මම කලින් කතා කරේ, right? මොයාට කලින් පැහැදිලි කරලා කිව්වා අපි macroeconomic variable එකක් ගැන හිතනවා. අපි ඒක වැදගත්යි කියලා හිතනවා නම් right ඒක තමයි සාර්වාර්ථික විද්‍යාවේ වැදගත්කම. එතකොට ඒව මත පදනම් වෙලා ආර්ථිකයකට පුළුවන් right certain objectives ටිකක් දාගන්න. සාර්වාර්ථික විද්‍යාව පැත්තෙන් සාර්වාර්ථිකය පැත්තෙන් අපිට පුළුවන් අරමුණු ටිකක් පිටව ගන්න. මොකද්ද? මොනවද අරමුණු? economical growth එක continuous economical growth and development. ක්‍රමයෙන් ආර්ථිකය වර්ධනය කර ගැනීම. ආර්ථික වර්ධනය ළඟා කර ගැනීම. full employment පූර්ණ සේවා නියුක්තිය right පූර්ණ සේවා නියුක්ති තත්ත්වයකට ශ්‍රම බලකායෙන් ලේබර් ෆෝස් එකකින් right වැඩ කරන්න කැමති වැඩ කළ හැකි සියලු දෙනා වැඩ කරන තත්ත්වයට පත් කරගන්න පුළුවන් නම් අපි full employment situation එකකට economical equality right ආර්ථිකමය සමානත්වතාවය හැමෝටම සමාන විදියට ආර්ථිකය හැසිරෙනවද හැමෝටම සාධාරණයක් වෙන විදියට ආර්ථිකයේ තියෙන විචල්යන් හැසිරෙනවා ඒක අපේ macroeconomic objective ඒ වගේම foreign exchange rate and balance of payment keeping a stable foreign exchange rate which will be favorable for the economy and also keeping balance of payment in a positive manner right ගෙවුම් ශේෂය හොඳ මට්ටමක ධන මට්ටමක තියාගන්න පුළුවන් නම් ඒ වගේම foreign exchange rate එක විදේශ විනිමය අනුපාතය ස්ථාවර සහ ආර්ථිකයට හානිදායක නොවන ආකාරයට right තියාගන්න පුළුවන් නම් ඒක macroeconomic objective. දැන් අද බලන්න right ආර්ථිකයට ඉතාමත්ම හිතකර තත්ත්වයක තමයි exchange rate එක දෙන්නේ. ඇයි? right ඇයි? මොකද Sri Lanka is mostly right most of the essential goods are basing on imports right දැන් ගොඩක්ම අත්‍යවශ්‍ය භාණ්ඩ තිරිඟු පිටි පරිප්පු කිරිපිටි right දැන් සහල් පවා විදේශයෙන් ආනයන කරනවනදී විදේශයෙන් ආනයනය තමයි කරන එක තමයි හැබිට් එක right පුරුද්ද කියලා කියන්නේ ඒක තමයි හැම government එකකම තියෙන what you call culture එක නැත්නම් habit එක right එතකොට එහෙම ආර්ථිකයකට කවදාවත් ඩෙවලොප් වෙන්න බෑ foreign exchange rate එක fluctuate වෙනවා right දැන් ගොඩක්ම ඒක තමයි හේතුව right දැන් milk powder වෙළඳපොලේ නැත්තේ කිරිපිටි වෙළඳපොලේ නැත්තේ මේ exchange rate fluctuation එකකින් එතකොට රුපියල් 380කට තියෙන කිරිපිටි පැකට් එකක් right ගෙන්නන්න ඩොලර් යන්නේ අපි හිතමු for an example right just for example අපි හිතමු ඩොලර් 1.5යි අපි හිතමු සම්පූර්ණ වැඩේ ඔක්කොම ඉවර වෙන්න exchange rate එක රුපියල් 200 වෙද්දී right යන්නේ 1.5යි නම් right රුපියල් 300ක් තමයි යාළුවගේ සම්පූර්ණ පිරිවැය වෙන්නේ right for simple example right නැත්නම් අපි මෙහෙම ගමු exchange rate එක 150 තියෙනවා right for a simple example right to identify right foreign exchange rate 150 තියෙනවා right 150 තියෙනවා කියමුකෝ එතකොට අපි හිතමු ඩොලර් දෙකක් තමයි සම්පූර්ණ පිරිවැය යන්නේ ඉම්පෝර්ට් කරලා ඔක්කොම වැඩි වෙලා කරලා වෙළඳපොළට දාන්න. එතකොට රුපියල් 300ක පිරිවැයක් ඒ නිෂ්පාදකයට යනවා. right මේක 160 170 වුණාට කමන්නේ රුපියල් 380යිනේ. right 380යි එහෙනම් රුපියල් 80ක profit margin එකක් තියෙනවා. එතකොට මේක 160 වුණොත් මෙතන 320යි profit margin එක 60කට අඩුයි. right මෙතන 170 වැඩි කිරීම දෙක 340යි. profit margin 40යි. කොහොම right. then ඉවසගෙන ඉඳලා 200 යනකට ඇවිල්ලා. දැන් බලන්න cost එක කීයද කියලා? cost එක 400. දැන් රුපියල් 380ට මේ කිරිපිටි දෙන්න පුළුවන්ද? දෙන්න බෑ. right. මේකේ cost එක වැඩි වෙලා නැහැ ඇත්තටම. right. cost එක වැඩි වෙලා නැහැ. වැඩි වෙලා තියෙන exchange rate එක. see exchange rate එක තමයි වැඩි වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. හැබැයි ඒක හින්දා ගෙවන්න වෙලා තියෙන ප්‍රමාණය වැඩියි. එයාලත් කරන්නේ වෙන බයර් කෙනෙක්ගෙන් අරන් දෙන එක. එතකොට වෙන බයර් කෙනෙක්ගේ මිල ඩොලර් 5යි නම් ඩොලර් 2යි නම් right ඒ ඩොලර් 2 right අනිවාර්යෙන් දෙන්න ඕනේ. ඒක තමයි යාගේ cost එක. එහේ cost එක. එතකොට දෙන්න ඕනේ මොනවගින්ද? මෙහෙ ඩොලර්ස් වලින්. මෙහෙ රුපියල් වලින් තමයි දෙන්න ඕනේ. මෙහෙ රුපියල් ඩොලර්ස් වලට කන්වර්ට් කරලා තමයි දෙන්නේ. right simple right. එහෙනම් favorable foreign exchange rate එකක් සහ balance of payment එකක් තියා ගැනීම ඉතාමත්ම වැදගත්. In developing countries, right, the fluctuation on these macroeconomic variables are very high. These will be your questions, right? දැන් මම මේවකි දීලා තියෙන statements, right? Statements ඔයාලට ගොඩාක් වැදගත් වෙයි final examination, right? In the quiz also these will be more effective, right? You may given the entire wordings, right? So, as in a developing country, the fluctuation on the macroeconomic variables are high. Do you agree? Critically evaluate. Likewise, right? So try to identify, right? So try to identify and get the correct meaning. So what are the macroeconomic issues then? So to achieve this, right? To achieve this, you have this kind of issues. What are the issues? Low or high inflation, right? High inflation rates. This means increasing of the price level of the good continuously, right? High unemployment. In the labor force, the economical active people are not engaging in the employees, right? Employees. Low economic growth. Low economic growth means the gross domestic production of a certain economy is low, is decreasing, not increasing. And business cycle means fluctuations, right? Fluctuation in the economical activities, right? So there are many other, right? Many other, such as increasing or the fluctuation in exchange rates, right? Fluctuations in exchange rate and poverty, right? Likewise, there may be many types of what? Many types of and balance of payments, right? Unfavorable balance of payments. Likewise, there may be many macroeconomic issues, right? But as per the time limits that is granted for us, we are going to identify these 4 macroeconomic events. Inflation, right? Inflation. So before going for the that, are you okay up to now? Hello?
Okay, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Then I have a small question. Why today's attendance is really low, right? 71 now. We have about 85. Why? What was the reason? Anyone? Any specific reason? Is it the problem is the weather condition? Hello? Is it the problem? Okay. Right. Inflation. Our first macroeconomic variables. From here onwards, right, we are going to identify these 4 kinds of issues. Right. Students, we remember that, right? We remember for the for others, right? For other departments, these are separate topics, right? Separate sessions in the macroeconomic subject, right? But as per your course unit, right, these are discussed in a in one session, right? So hopefully I will complete it because we have another 45 minutes, right? The inflation, right? Inflation. So when you can anyone tell me, right? When you refer in the term, what would you come on to your mind? Can anyone tell me? What is the or put it into the chat box. I love to hear the voice, but if you have any reluctant, put it into the chat box. Inflation. Uddamanya. Increasing of general price level. Yes. Any more answers? Any more? Price is increasing when the goods and service level not changed. Okay, yes. Okay, right. In simply, right. In simply, inflation refers to the increasing of general price levels, right, for a particular time period. By basing on a time period, increasing of the general price level, right? So students, the most important thing that you need to understand in here, right? We are not identifying each and every good or a service to calculate the inflation or to identify the inflation of an economy. Right? We are taking a certain goods and service, right? And also we are taking a certain basket, right? Basket of goods and services, not the entire goods and services in an economy. Those will represent the entire economy. So in research, Lamai, right? In a research, right? You may get familiar with this in the upcoming course units, right? The thing that we do is in the research, we are identifying, right? We are identifying a certain figure, right? Or else a certain what you called certain problem in the economy in a society, by basing on a sample. දැන් අපි පර්යේෂණයකදී කරන්නේ රිසර්ච් එකකදී කරන්නේ මොකක් හරි සමාජයේ තියෙන ප්‍රශ්නයක් right ගැන හොයලා බලනවා ඒකට අපි මොකක් හරි සමාජයේ ඉන්න කොටසක් තමයි තෝරගන්නේ right මේක ගැන ඔයාලට ඉස්සරහට ගොඩක් දැන් ඔයාලා second year third year fourth year යද්දි 4 1 එකේ තමයි රිසර්ච් එක තියෙන්නේ 3 2 එකේ තියෙනවා ඔයාලට third year second semester එකේ research methodology subject right එතකොට ඒකෙදි ඒ විද්‍ය වලට හොඳ දැනුමක් ඇවිල්ලා තියෙන්නේ එතකොට ඒ වගේ උද්දමනය කැල්කියුලේට් කරන්න උද්දමනය මොන වගේ ලෙවල් එකකද තියෙන්නේ කියලා බලන්න අපි ගොඩක් වෙලාවට almost all the time right හැම වෙලාවෙම වගේ අපි certain types of goods and services තමයි තෝරා ගන්න. හැම භාණ්ඩයක් හා සේවාවකම තෝරා ගන්න. අපි ඒකෙන් කොටසක් තමයි තෝරාගන්නේ. ඒක නියෝජනය කරන මුළු ආර්ථිකය. Right? That is the most important thing that you need to understand. Right? You may have a problem that most of the prices or the most of the prices in today's context is really high. But the inflation now is not that increase, right? Not showing that much of figure. Why was that? Because a certain type of goods and services are obtaining for the calculation of inflation. Right? So after selecting or after identifying those goods and services, we identify the behavior of the prices of those goods and services. භාණ්ඩ හා සේවා ටික අපි අඳුනගත්තට පස්සේ අපි ඒක ඒ භාණ්ඩ හා සේවාවල මිල මට්ටමේ සිද්ධ වෙන වෙනස්කම් ටික තමයි right identify කරගන්නේ උද්දමනය කෙරේ. පස්සේ ඒ මත පදනම් වෙලා right අපි average එක ගන්න දැන් හිතමු මුළු මාසෙම right මුළු මාසෙම අපිට නැත්තම් අපි මෙහෙම ගමු මුළු අවුරුද්දකම ඉන්ෆ්ලේෂන් එක ගන්න කරන්න නම් අපිට මාසෙන් මාසෙට ඉන්ෆ්ලේෂන් එක බලලා right බලලා ඒකේ average එකක් තමයි ගන්න වෙන්නේ right එතකොට එහෙම average එකක් ගත්තට පස්සේ අපි identify කරගන්නවා මේක මුළු economy එකට අපි මේක යොදනවා මුළු economy. That is the way to understand the way of calculating inflation. A certain type of basket of goods and services are they represent the entire economy, right? So after that you identified the price changes of those goods and services, right? And we take an average level and then we apply to the economy. Right? That is the way that we do the inflation. So inflation simply means the increase of the general price level of an economy. That is in a particular time period, right? So the point of inflation is clear then. So we can identify different types of inflation rates that is calculated, right? Different by basing on different objectives, we are calculating different types of indexes on inflation. CCPI or else Colombo Consumer Price Index, NCPI National Consumer Price Index is the most important or most concerned two types, right? National Consumer Price Index talks about the entire country, right? National Consumer Price Index එක මුළු රටේම උද්දමනය ගැන බලන. හැබැයි Colombo Consumer Price Index එක කරන්නේ කොළඹ district එකේ, right? ඇතුලේ භාණ්ඩ සේවාවල මිල මට්ටම් වල වෙනස්. right? ඒක තමයි CCPI එකකින් කරන්නේ. ඒ වගේම Greater Colombo Consumer Price Index එක සහ Sri Lanka Consumer Price Index කියලා මෙහෙම වර්ග තියෙනවා. විවිධ වර්ග. ඒකෙන් NCPI තමයි අපිට අවශ්‍ය. CCPI එකෙන් කරන්නේ CCPI සහ NCPI තමයි වඩාත් වැදගත් දෙක. NCPI තමයි අපි කතා කරන්නේ ගොඩක් වෙලාවට. එතකොට NCPI එකේ බේස් year එක 2013 වර්ෂයට සාපේක්ෂව right වර්ෂයේ මිල මට්ටම් වල මිලට සාපේක්ෂව මිල මට්ටම් වල ඇවරේජ් එකට සාපේක්ෂව එක එක අවුරුදු වල මිල මට්ටම් වෙනස් වෙලා තියෙන්නේ කොහොමද? එතකොට 2013ට සාපේක්ෂව 2013ට සාපේක්ෂව 2017 right 2017 7.7ක උද්දමන වර්ධනයක් තියෙනවා. right ඒ වගේම 2020 6.2ක උද්දමන වර්ධනයක් තියෙනවා. right so by basing on 2019 to 2020 right see there is a slight change, not a slight, a significant change, right? I think the point is clear, right? So this is a graphical view by basing on the inflation rate by basing on the years, right? These are everything to refer, right? මේවා refer කරන්න තමයි details දීලා තියෙනවා, right? එතකොට concept එක පැහැදිලි නම් වර්ෂය මත පදනම් වෙලා කොහොමද inflation rate එක fluctuate වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. See just see ළමයි, just see how much differentiate is there, right? See 1986 to about 2010, see the price level or the inflation, how it has changed, right? And these are predicted ones, right? 2022 24 26 predict කරලා තියෙන එක මෙහෙමයි කියලා, right? Then from March 2020 to May 2021, here are some, right? NCPI CCPI එක දෙකම compare කරලා දීලා, right? You would not get these types of, right, these types of classifications from anywhere, right? So please refer, right? I have all put these things, right, put these things for your reference, right? ඒ හින්දා මේ වගේ practical විදියට අහන්න ඉඩ තියෙනවා, right? ඉඩ තියෙනවා. ඒ හින්දා හොඳට refer කරලා ඔයාලගේ knowledge එක වැඩි කරගන්න ඕනේ, right? මොකද ඔයාලට ආර්ථික විද්‍යානුකූල දැනුමක් නැතුව සමාජයේ ඉන්න බෑ. ඔක තමයි ඇත්ත. right? එතකොට develop වෙන්න අදහසක් තියෙනවා නම්, so if you haven't idea for a development, it is okay, right? තමන් enhance වෙන්න, තමන්ගේ capacity එක වැඩි කරගන්න, තමන්ගේ potential capacity එක වැඩි කරගන්න අවශ්‍යතාවයක් නැත්නම් no problem, right? හැබැයි අවශ්‍යතාවයක් තියෙනවා නම් හැම දෙයක්ම refer කරන්න ඕන, right? monthly මේ March April May කොහොමද හැසිරෙන්නේ කියලා දීලා තියෙනවා, right? last one May 2021 6.1, right? 6.1. එතකොට 2020 වල ඉඳන් January December 2020 වෙනකම් 2020 ජනවාරි ඉඳන් 2020 දෙසැම්බර් වෙනකම් 1 by 1 තියෙනවා. මේකේ average එක 6.2, right? ඒ වගේම බලන්න තමයි 2013 ඉඳන් 2017 දක්වා විවිධ රටවල් SAARC රටවල් වල comparison එක තියෙනවා. right? බලන්න නේපාල් වල මොකද වෙලා තියෙන්නේ කියලා. right? Inflation is almost 10%, right? 10%. right? But see in Bangladesh lamai it continuously decreasing, right? the trend is continuously decreasing. See in India, it continuously decreasing, right? But what happens in Sri Lanka? It fluctuates more than in a significant way, right? So you need to have, see in Afghanistan they had a -1 in 2015, right? See in Maldives it is really high, really low, right? Really low. Inflation is really low. See in 2016 almost 0.5%, right? So these kind of information are there for your reference, right? If you are a person who is going to develop, if you are a person who is going to enhance your knowledge, right, please refer these things, right? Moreover, these things, try to obtain more and more knowledge on referring. You can just Google it, right? Just Google it in on the on a website on inflation of the countries. Likewise, right? It will be really easy. Right? Inflation. So we there are some types of inflation. So right, Lama? Types of inflation. So identifying different types of inflation concepts is done in here, right? So these are separate topics for the when we need to talk on the macroeconomic or inflation in a more lengthy manner, but we will try to identify, right? Try to identify using this graph, right? Using this graph. So if the inflation, right? If the inflation, right, is less than 3% a year, right, we call it as a creep-in or a mild inflation, right? The price levels are changed less than 3%, right? That is a creep-in inflation situation. But if the price level rise between 3% to 10%, 3 ඉඳන් 10 අතර ප්‍රමාණයක තියෙනවා නම් ඉන්ෆ්ලේෂන් එක දැන් 103කට වඩා අඩුයි නම් ළමයි creep-in නැත්නම් mild inflation එකක් කියලා කියන්නේ. right? ඒ කියලා කියන හොරා වගේ නැත්නම් හිමීට බොහොමත්ම හිමින් තමයි මිල මට්ටම් වර්ධනය වෙන්නේ. හොඳ සිටුේෂන්. right? හැබැයි 3 ඉඳන් 10 වගේ අතර කාල සීමාවක තියෙනවා නම් ප්‍රයිස් එක වෙනස් වෙනවා නම්, right? අපි ඒක walk-in inflation එකක් කියලා කියනවා. right? creep-in එකට වඩා වැඩි වේගයකින් වැඩි වෙනවා. Sri Lanka is in a situation like this, right? Sri Lanka is in a situation like this. If the price increase more than 10%, we identified it as a galloping inflation, right? Make a ආර්ථිකයට හොඳ තත්ත්වයක් නෙමෙයි. Galloping inflation situation, right? ඒ වගේම සමහර ආර්ථික තියෙනවා දැන් Zimbabwe වගේ රටක, right? Price rise, right, more than 50% a month, right? 50කට වඩා වැඩි සමහර මාසයකට. ඒ කියලා කියන්නේ රුපියල් 100ට තිබ්බ භාණ්ඩය තව සතියකින් විතර බලද්දි 150යි. තව සතියකින් විතර බලද්දි 200යි. Likewise. Right? So likewise, there are different types of inflation concepts or inflation types. Right? So have you got the point on inflation? Inflation ගැන පැහැදිලිද?
Yes, sir.
Yes, thank you. I think clear, right? Then unemployment. Right? Unemployment. So by the word itself, right? By the word itself, Lamai, you can get a clear idea on the unemployment concept. Right? Unemployment mean before talking on the unemployment, right? We need to identify a certain type of concepts such as employee, labor force, economically active population, right? Unemployed, likewise, right? We'll come to the come to identify what is employed mean, right? රැකියාවක නිරත වෙලා ඉන්නවා කියන්නේ මොකක්ද? Right? Simply, during a reference period, persons who worked as paid employees, employers' own account workers or contributing family workers are said to be employed. සලකා බලන කාලච්ඡේදයක් ඇතුළත, right? කිසියම් වැටුපක් යටතේ සේවය කරන සේවකයෝ, සේවාදායකයෝ, තමන්ගේම වෘත්තීය හදාරන කට්ටිය, තමන්ගේ බිස්නස් එකක් කරන කට්ටිය, ඒ වගේම තමන්ගේ පවුල වැඩකට හරි සේවා සපයනවා නම් කෙනෙක්, ෆාමින් වගේ දෙයකට අපි මේ හැමෝම එම්ප්ලොයිඩ් කැටගරි එකට ගන්න. සේවා නියුක්ත වෙලා ඉන්නවා කියන්නේ. right? එතකොට මේක සාමාන්‍යයෙන් ලේබර් ස්ටැටිස්ටික් ඩිපාර්ට්මන්ට් එක තමයි කරන්නේ සර්වේ එක. right? Time to time they are referring, right? Referring some periods. කාලෙන් කාලයට යාලා periodically refer කරනවා. right? Statistic data අරගෙන refer කරනවා. එතකොට සාමාන්‍යයෙන් මේ refer කරන period එක තියෙන්නේ, right? අපි හිතමු සතියක කාල සීමාවක් දැන් මේ සතියේ ඉඳන් මේ සතියේ සවුන්දා ඉඳන් බදාද මේ සිකුරාද වෙනකන් කාලච්ඡේදය තමයි ගන්න. කාලච්ඡේදය ඇතුළත අපි සර්වේ එක අපි කරනවා. හැබැයි එතකොට අපි සලකා බලන්න වෙන්නේ අපිට මේ සතියේ කාලච්ඡේදය නෙමෙයි ළමයි, right? කොහොමද අපි මේ සතියේ කාලච්ඡේදය සලකා බලන්න ගන්න පුළුවන්? අපිට එහෙම සලකා බලලා ගන්න බෑ. මොකද එහෙම වෙන්නේ අපි දෙයක් නිරීක්ෂණය කරනවා නම්, අද නිරීක්ෂණය කරනවා නම් දැන් හෙට මොනවද වෙයි කියලා අපිට අවබෝධයක් තියෙන්න බෑ. හැබැයි අපිට ඊට කලින් මොකද උනේ කියලා අවබෝධයක් තියෙනවා. right? ඒ හින්දා අපි employed person ලා ගැන statistically හොයද්දී අපි reference period එක ගන්න previous week of the survey week, right? මේ සතියේ කරනවා නම් අපි ගිය සතියේ data ටික තමයි ගන්න. right? එතකොට මේ වගේ time to time survey එක යනවා නම් ඒකෙන් තමයි employed category එක හොයලා ගන්න. එතකොට employed කියලා කියන එකේ තේරුම පැහැදිලි. employed කියලා කියන්නේ කිසියම් කාලච්ඡේදයක් reference period එක. reference period එක තමයි මම පැහැදිලි කරේ, right? කොහොමද reference period එක statistical department එක time to time තමයි මේක survey කරන්නේ, සේවා නියුක්ත ප්‍රමාණය හොයන්නේ reference period එක මුල් කරගෙන. reference period එක previous week of the survey week, right? එතකොට මේ period එක ඇතුලේ සේවය කරන සේවකයෝ, සේවාදායකයෝ, තමන්ගේම වැඩ කරන, තමන්ගේ entrepreneurships නැත්නම් තමන්ගේ business කරන, ඒ වගේම තමන්ගේ පවුලේ වැඩ කටයුත්තකට දායක වෙන. මේ සියලු දෙනා තමයි employed category එකට ගන්න. right? The next concept is the labor force, ශ්‍රම බලකාය. ශ්‍රම බලකාය කියන්නේ අවුරුදු 15කට වැඩි, 15ක් හෝ 15කට වැඩි economically active population. ආර්ථිකමය වශයෙන් දායකත්වය දිය හැකි population. බලන්න මේ රූප සටහනෙන්, right, it is really clear, right? අපේ population එක අපිට ඉන්නවා මොනවද 15ක් හෝ ඊට වැඩි population එකක් ඉන්නවා අවුරුදු 15ක් හෝ ඊට වැඩි. ඒක අපි කොටස් දෙකකට බෙදන්න පුළුවන්. We can divide it into two parts as economically active and economically inactive. Before coming to the economically active, right, we come into the economically inactive people. There are inactive people now in every economy. Who are the inactive people? Who simply they can't economically contribute to an economy, right? Contribute to an economy. Who are full-time students are there, right? And also person who engage in the household duties. Can they economically economically contribute? They can't. They may, right? They may do as a part-time job. Then they are going for the employed population, not as to here, right? And also retired or old age and disabled persons and potential labor force. Potential labor force mean the labor force that have the capacity but not seeking, right? Not seeking, right? Those are the economically inactive population. So economically active population, that means the labor force, right, has two categories: employed and unemployed. These are the unemployed one, these are the inner. So in unemployment, we talk on the unemployed population. That means the unemployed, the persons who are willing to work and seeking for a job in an economically active population. ආර්ථිකමය වශයෙන් දායකත්වයක් දෙන්න පුළුවන් population එකේ job එකක් බලාපොරොත්තුෙන් ඉන්න හැබැයි තවමත් job එකක් ලැබිලා නැති පුද්ගලයෝ තමයි අපි unemployment category එකට. So is the concept clear? දැන් අපිට තමයි මෙහෙමයි, right? Unemployment කියන්නේ මෙන්න මේක. Unemployed කියලා කියන්නේ ආර්ථිකමය වශයෙන් දායකත්වයක් නැත්නම් මෙහෙම කියමු job එකක් බලාපොරොත්තුෙන් ඉන්න හැබැයි job එකක් නැති කියලා අපිට කතා කරලා ඉවර කරන්න පුළුවන් ළමයි, right? But having a proper understanding is the most important thing, right? එතකොට ශ්‍රම බලකාය කියලා කියන්නේ මොකද්ද? economically active population. අවුරුදු 15 හෝ ඊට වැඩි මේ ආර්ථිකයට දායකත්වයක් දෙන්න පුළුවන්. දෙන්න බැරි කට්ටිය අයින් කරලා දෙන්න පුළුවන් කට්ටිය විතරක් ගත්තාම අපි ඒක තමයි labor force එක කියලා කියන්නේ. ශ්‍රම බලකාය කියන්නේ. එතකොට ශ්‍රම බලකායෙන්, right? ශ්‍රම බලකාය ඇතුලේ ඉන්න job එකකට දායකත්වයක් දෙන්න පුළුවන් හැබැයි අවස්ථාවක් නැහැ. කැමැත්තක් තියෙනවා තාම opportunity එකක් නැහැ. ඒ පිරිස තමයි අපි unemployment කියලා නැත්නම් unemployed category එක කියලා ගන්න. So is the concept clear? Is it? පැහැදිලිද ළමයි?
Yes, sir.
Yes, thank you. Right? So focus on this, right? මේ දැන් මොකක් හරි තේරෙන්නේ නැති concept එකක් නැත්නම් concept එකක් ගැන හොඳට කතා කරද්දී ඒක ගැන focus කරන්න, right? ඒක ගැන හොඳට හිතලා ඉන්න. ඒ කියන්නේ හොඳට flowing එක නැත්නම් ගලා යාම ගැන හොඳ බර තැවීමකින් අහගෙන ඉන්න, right now? Then unemployed, right? Unemployed person who was seeking or and available for work but had no employment during the reference period, right? Unemployment rate. So how you are going to identify unemployment rate, right? How you are going to identify unemployment rate? Unemployment rate mean number of unemployed, this category, divide by this, multiply by 100. number of unemployment labor force divided by labor force multiplied by 100. That is the way we are calculating unemployment rate. Right. So normally Sri Lanka is a country where we have normal, natural, right? Natural level of unemployment at the country kattamai Sri Lanka කියලා කියනවා. Right? Natural level of unemployment එකක් කියලා කියන්නේ 4 to 6%. Right? 4 to 6%. Sri Lankan economy has the ability ability to maintain that. Right? See, 2018 4.4%, 2019 4.8%, 2020 5.5%. But lamai, right? But this is an average one, right? Unemployment rate is also average. We are having different types of units in the economy, such as educated, gender-wise, production sectors, states, urban people, rural people. Likewise, there are different types of segments, right? We have I'll show you in the next slides, right? We have that kind of sectors, right? Segments. So to understand, right? So as an average, yes, we have, but as per these categories, they may differ, right? Think as in the gender, right? Most of the people so have you got the point of this? I was talking on this one, right? So Sri Lanka's unemployment rate, right, increased for 5.7, right? Previously in December 2020, it was 5.2, but now it is 5.7 in March 2021, right? This is calculated quarterly, right? Next one is March, April, May, June. It comes on the June, right? On June, it may be all available, right? So if a country, right, has an unemployment situation, it means we do not meet the demand and supply conditions. Right? For an economy, there is a demand for the labor, for an supply, and also there is a supply of labor also. Right? If there is an unemployment situation, it means they are not in an equilibrium position. Right? See the movements, right? Just refer them, right? Refer them. Most importantly, you need to identify the way of fluctuated, right? And the current figures, right? And in January 2021, it is 5.7, right? As I mentioned. See, in December, like in December, it was 5.2, right? 5.2, but on January, it was January mean first quarter, right? First quarter, January, February, March. In March, it was 5.7. Right? Due to see Lamai, normally in the December of 2020, 2019, it was around 4.9, 5, 4.5, likewise, right? It was around 5 point, right? 5%. but it gradually increases due to the pandemic situation, right? See, from the beginning of 2020, like April, March, right? It gradually increases, right? But see in here, just carefully look at, right? Right. Just carefully look at, right? By basing on gender, right? By basing on gender, the economical active people, see 65.1. I mentioned this in earlier, right? I mentioned this in earlier. Although the average level may be less, by basing on different categories of sectors in the economy, it may be differ, right? It may be differ. See, it is clearly mentioned in here, right? Male 65.1, female 34.9, right? Economically active. That means the reverse of this one is the economically inactive, right? See, 25.9 only. When we get 100, 65 are working, 25 are not working. Likewise, right? And see, 74.1 is economically inactive, right? And by basing on the sectors, rural, urban, state sector, right? Sector, these amounts are engaged, right? These amount of male and female engaged. These are different types of categories for your understanding, right? For your understanding and get the concept more realistic manner to the mind, right? In state sector, 57.1 is male, only 42.9 is female, right? In urban rural also, see, a significant amount is male, right? And as per the level of education, economically inactive population, see, right? The person who have uh, grade 5 and below education is 18.8 from the total, 100 from the economically inactive. ආර්ථික වශයෙන් දායකත්වයක් දෙන්න පුළුවන් පුද්ගලයන්ගෙන් 18.8ක්ම grade 5 and below, right? A level and above, see, only 14%, right? Most are, see, grade 6 to 10, 6 to 10, right? Likewise, there are different types of categories. And also reasons for the economical inactive by gender. Economically inactive වෙලා තියෙන්නේ, right? මොනවද reasons economically inactive වෙන්න main reasons, right? කොච්චර proportion එකක් වෙලා තියෙනවද බලන්න. 100ක් කියලා ගත්තොත් duties වල engage වෙලා ඉන්නවා 100, studies වල engage වෙලා ඉන්නවා 22.3. ඒකෙන් 140ක්ම male. Houseworks will engage in 46.7, right? That is the main reason for economically inactive population. That's the main reason. Making 61% female. Retired old age, male. Physical illness, categorize, right? Selected age groups. So go through this, right? Employees, employed population by major industry. Industry ka mata pada nam vela. Service sector ka tamai වැඩිම employees la engage වෙලා ඉන්න sector එක. Right? Go through this one also, right? Public, private, right? Likewise. That is all about unemployment. Then we are coming for the topic of what? Economic growth. Right? Economic growth. 9 past 55. We may able to talk this, right? There is some small topics, right? Economic growth, right? In simple, economic growth of an economy, Arthika Vardhanya, economic growth of economy is mean the increasing of gross domestic product. Right? Gross domestic product එකේ දල ජාතික නිෂ්පාදිතය නිෂ්පාදිතයේ සිද්ධ වෙන වර්ධනය තමයි ආර්ථික වර්ධනය කියලා කියන්නේ. Right? එතකොට to identify, right, the correct growth rate, we need to identify the real change, right, of GDP by basing on the constant price. Constant price එක මත GDP වල වෙනස්කම තමයි බලන්න ඕන ළමයි. දැන් ආර්ථිකයක් අපිට වර්ධනය කියලා පෙන්වන්න පුළුවන්. right? මිල මට්ටම් වල අඩු වුණොත් දැන් අපි හිතමු කිසියම් නිෂ්පාදිතයක් තියෙනවා. ඒකේ මිල මෙච්චරයි. එහෙනම් ඒකෙන් මෙන්න මේ ප්‍රමාණයක් නිෂ්පාදනය වෙලා තියෙනවා. නිෂ්පාදනය කියලා කියන්නේ මෙන්න මේ ප්‍රමාණයක් ආර්ථිකයට ජන්‍ය වෙලා තියෙනවා. හැබැයි මේ මිල මට්ටම අඩු කරොත් මේ තියෙන ලෙවල් එකේම right level එකේම අපිට පුළුවන් මේක තව increase කරගන්න. right? Likewise we can find out GDP, right? GDP mean this price is constant, it is not changing, right? But the gross domestic product is changing, right? That is the way to find the real GDP, right? Right? Without that we can't identify the economic growth. So increasing of the gross domestic product is the economic growth. To find out this, you need to have constant price, right? And then we can identify the real change in GDP. In 2012, Sri Lanka recorded an economic growth of 9.1. That is the highest, right? In the post-independent history in 2012, right? But 3.3, 2.3 and minus 3.6. Right? In 2020, minus 3.6 because of the pandemic, right? Because of the first wave of the pandemic, we identify this much of negative value, right? Negative growth rate. So how we can increase this growth rate? That means how we can increase gross domestic product. We can, right? For this, two major factors are effective. Right? That means our resources in the economy is increasing or changing, right? Due to that, we can increase the gross domestic product, right? What resources? Physical, natural, human. Likewise, human capacity, human knowledge is increasing, so we can use that for the increase of the gross domestic product. Physical resources such as minerals, fuel, water facilities, electricity, likewise different natural and physical resources, right? If we have increased the amounts or enhancing the amounts that those what you call resources, we can change the gross domestic product and it ultimately effect for the economic growth. And also we can change the efficiency of the factors of production. Change the efficiency through different kinds of innovations, through different kinds of usage of different technological advancements. By increasing the research and development, we can do that. Right? So changing the amount of available resources and the changes of the efficiency factors of production, we can gain a high gross domestic product, mean high economic growth, right? That is the way to achieve economic growth. This is the distribution, right? This is the distribution of GDP, right? Distribution of GDP. By basing on different sectors, I have included this, right? Agriculture sector is in minus, green color, shows the -1, right? Likewise, fluctuations are there in quarter wise, right? In quarter wise, there are fluctuations. Overall, right? So don't compare this with this data, right? Because these are quarter wise. 2016 quarters 4 value එක තමයි මේ තියෙන්නේ. එතකොට මේකේ average එක තමයි මේ තියෙන්නේ, right? Then 2018 ගත්තොත් මේ තමයි quarters 4. මේකේ average එක තමයි ළමයි 3.3 කියන්නේ. right? එතකොට quarter wise වෙනස් වෙලා තියෙන විදිය වෙනස් වෙන්න හේතු අපිට හඳුනා ගන්න පුළුවන්. right? බලන්න 2020 වල first quarter එක negative ගාණක් තියෙනවා. second quarter එක ඊට වඩා ලොකු negative ගාණක්. හැබැයි third quarter එක වෙද්දි පොඩ්ඩක් උඩට ගිහිල්ලා තියෙනවා. මේකත් එක cover කරගෙන තමයි යන්න ඕනේ. බලන්න මේ line එකේ යද්දි cover කරගෙන තමයි යන්න ඕනේ. දැන් මේක නෙමෙයි growth එක. මේක තමයි අපි growth ද නැද්ද කියලා හඳුනා ගන්න මේ line එක, right? Prefer these things, right? This is also quarter wise, right? And see, South Asian countries gross domestic product year wise, right? Year wise in tabules, right? Year wise in tabules. See, Afghanistan's one. See what happened in there. Can anyone tell? Please unmute yourself. What happens in Afghanistan? What happens in Afghanistan, ළමයි? මේ ගුරු පාටෙන් දාලා තියෙන ඇෆ්ගනිස්තානය. මොකද වෙලා තියෙන්නේ? අවුරුද්දෙන් අවුරුද්ද. මේ economical growth එක නැත්නම් percentage of gross domestic product එක වැඩි වෙන ප්‍රමාණය මේ time එක. ඇෆ්ගනිස්තානයේ බලන්න ක්‍රමක්‍රමයෙන් වැඩි වෙලා. Bangladesh also same, right? Bhutan in this color, right? See, drastically increase. India is the highest economic growth. See, ash color one. Maldives, yellow color one. See, in 2015 they have gone for a huge decline, right? And now they are fixing it. Nepal, see, this much to this much. Huge change, right? And then again in 2016 also changing, but in 2017 they have achieved a highest one. Right? Pakistan, green color, see, they are fluctuated a bit, right? See, like this, right? Like this. Sri Lanka, see, stable, but after 2017, right? 2017, 3.3, 2.3, 3.6. 3.3, 2.3 minus. Likewise, right? So you can compare with the South Asian countries. Right? So we have another one more, right? We will able to complete it within another 10 minutes, right? So I'll just stop the session by here, right? I took 5 minutes from you also.
Recording stopped.
So anything to be asked? So is it everything clear? I hope that I may able to make the concepts more closer to you, right? So is there anything to ask? If not, we'll wind up the session, right? So thank you very much for joining. We have another 3 sessions, right? We have another 4 topics to be covered.